Okay, so let's go ahead and get back into our coverage over the X-Men. And now we're kind of officially done for Excalibur for like a very short period of time. And we can now kind of focus on Wolverine. And technically, after this video, we're going to be done with Wolverine for another short period of time and kind of shift our focus over to X-Force and hopefully some Cable and X-Men comics as well. But with that being said, I kind of want to sit down and cover this two-part story arc where it's Wolverine fighting against a Wendigo. And the reason why I say a Wendigo, because over time in Marvel Comics, you always have like different characters take up the mantle of Wendigo. But also, it's Wolverine kind of beginning the process of possibly regaining his adamantium. And the reason why I'm saying the beginning of the process, because what happened in the last story arc, let me explain. You see, in the last story arc that we had covered, when it came to Wolverine, we had learned that he was married to Viper. Now, technically, him marrying Viper was a way of him paying his debt of honor to somebody he cared for. But because of his marriage with Viper, it kind of brought some tension between him and a few members of the X-Men, like Jubilee and Jean Grey, and possibly Psylocke as well. But at the same time, though, we also learned in that story arc that for Wolverine, one of his worst, probably the worst enemy, better known as Sabretooth, now has adamantium claws. Now, that was something really important for Wolverine, and let me explain. Because for Wolverine and also Sabretooth, they would have bloody matches. Like, they are fighting to almost the point of death if they could actually kill off one another. The thing was for Wolverine, he always kind of had the edge over Sabretooth with the idea of having adamantium claws. And as we all know, back in Fatal Attractions, when it came to Magneto, he took away the adamantium that was on the bones of Wolverine. And so, unfortunately for Logan, all he has now is bone claws. But in the last story arc, the bone claws was technically broken by Sabretooth. And so for Wolverine, what he did was he went back to the Weapon X facility where it all began. The idea of him getting his adamantium. And that's why I say I kind of feel like it's the beginning of the process of the possibility of Wolverine regaining his adamantium. But it's also the idea that for Logan, he kind of feels like he's not where he used to be. Now, it's also a mixture of different things. Like, yes, it's also the idea that for Logan, he no longer has his adamantium. That is a pretty major thing for him. But also the fact that for Wolverine, he kind of feels like with him trying to maintain his beast side to be more like a man, it also kind of slowed him down. And that took place right after the idea of us finding out that Wolverine had bone claws. But on top of that, for Logan, he kind of feels like his skills are slowly going away. Like he's losing his edge as a great fighter. And that's why in a few story arcs that we had covered, after the idea of Wolverine being able to contain his beast side, is Wolverine trying to find anything possible to kind of bring him back where he used to be as a warrior, as a man. But at the same time, now it seems like he's also hunting to become that weapon he was before losing his adamantium. Now, while you have Wolverine walk around Weapon X, he's also kind of getting all of these different flashbacks of like things that happened to him in the past. But the problem for Wolverine is that while he's looking around, he didn't realize that some other beast has been looking for him. And technically, they have found him. And that would be Wendigo. Now, before we get into the whole backstory of Wendigo and the big battle between Wolverine and Wendigo, I kind of want to shift our focus over to Department H. Now, that may seem a tad bit out of nowhere, but when it comes to Department H, their main goal is to oversee like superhuman teams like Alpha Flight or really any superpower beings in Canada. But either way, for Weapon X, the old building is under their watch. And so you have Wolverine and you also have like Wendigo there as well. All the different alarms in that building is just going off left and right and sending notifications back over to Department H. And so for Department H, they're kind of wondering what in the world is going on when it comes to the old building. But at the same time, when they scan the place, they pick up on Wolverine, who is also part of Alpha Flight, but also part of Department H. But when it comes to them being part of the storyline, that's really it. It's really more Marvel kind of hinting at the possibility of this organization getting involved once again in Wolverine's life. But the rest of the first chapter is really more of us now just seeing Wolverine struggle to fight against Wendigo. And the thing is, it makes a lot of sense. And here's the reason why. Because for Wolverine, like I said earlier, the dude had felt like he began to lose his edge as a warrior, as a fighter. But also the idea that the adamantium was around with him for a very long time. So in the past, he fought against the Hulk or Sabretooth or Wendigo, different Marvel characters. He had the adamantium claws to technically help him, but now he no longer has those claws to help him. As a matter of fact, his bone claws were broken in the last story arc by Sabretooth. And so without his fighting skills, without the adamantium, without the bone claws, is Wolverine right now just trying his best to survive against, well, Wendigo? And the thing is, you have Wendigo being able to push Logan's healing factor to the extreme, where his guts are about to be hanging out his body very soon, and he's trying his best to keep them inside to allow his healing factor to repair his body. But the problem is the battle still continues on. His bones are beginning to break. Now, the only thing that saves Logan at the end of the first chapter is the idea that he's able to scratch the face of Wendigo with the bone claws that he has left. With him doing that, Wendigo begins to freak out and run away, and it allows Logan the chance to try to find somewhere to recover. Now, that's just the ending for the first chapter, because now in the second chapter, we explore the idea of the curse of Wendigo and who could possibly be the new Wendigo. And so as we dive into the second chapter of the storyline, we're really picking up with Wolverine waking up inside this barn. Now, Wolverine is founded by the young boy whose parents own the farm, and that'll be a young boy known as, I want to say his name was Tommy. Yes, Tommy. Now, when it comes to Tommy, he's not really overall super important for the storyline, but he does help begin the process of helping Wolverine to recover. Like, for example, the idea of Wolverine being inside that barn kind of works out because the part of the barn he's in, the rest of Tommy's family does not go into that barn at all. So Wolverine can hide out there. But also the fact that you have Tommy kind of give Wolverine water and cookies and other things to basically help him recover because the dude was badly injured by Wendigo. Now, it's all not going to take place in one day. Matter of fact, by the time you have Wolverine wake up completely, it's been 3 days since he arrived at that barn. Now, we do switch over to Wendigo. And this kind of begins the process of us learning like the origin of Wendigo. Technically, we already know the origin, but like a quick reminder, you're somebody just getting back into comics or you're new to comics, this issue right here is really great understanding like what Wendigo truly is. You see, the whole idea of the curse of Wendigo is connected to Native Americans. It's the idea that they were trying to use a curse to fight against cannibalism. And so if you're somebody out there that eats, human flesh, then the curse is going to affect you. Now, over time in Marvel Comics, we had different people get affected by this curse, but also in like different types of ways as well. And for me personally, when it came to Wendigo, like he was really more of a bigger character in the early days of Marvel Comics. Now, really more of a background character, just used here and there for like a good old quick story battle, and that's really it. But the idea of this Wendigo is a brand new person who had became Wendigo, somebody who was a headmaster. Now, the whole story about this character here is that while he was out in the forest just cutting some trees down, he had discovered this underground cavern. The problem is that he fell into that cavern, and some of the tree that he cut had fell on top of him as well, and he was technically stuck. Now, part of his hand got cut off, and he was able to bandage his hand up while still being stuck. Now, he knew that he had to survive until his brother could most likely found him. So he decided to go out of his way to eat his own fingers. Yes, you heard that right. And the reason why, because he's trying to survive long enough to allow his brother to find him. But the problem is, though, he ate human flesh. And even though technically it's his own flesh, he still ate human flesh. And so that led into him becoming the brand new Wendigo. Now, the idea of Wendigo going after Wolverine is really more of the curse that wants to get revenge against Wolverine. Because for Logan, he had fought against many different kinds of Wendigos and being able to win against them. And so it's the idea of the curse remembering, hey, that's Logan. He defeated us like 2 or 3 times. We should get revenge, even though technically now we have a new host. Now, for Wolverine, he continues to hang out with a young boy that he just met who basically helped him recover. And so while you do have the young boy and Wolverine being able to communicate with one another, they're also beginning to talk about families. Now, for Logan, his family is the X-Men, but it's also the idea of Logan beginning to explain the idea of the X-Men, the idea of mutants, the idea of like what's going on with him, but also what could be coming after him to this young boy, but also trying his best to sugarcoat it. And it's kind of cool because for the young boy, he has no idea what the X-Men are, no idea about mutants at all. And so while you have Wolverine like explaining things to him about the X-Men, the kid's idea what the X-Men will look like is just wild. Like when he says Colossus is Metal Man, in his mindset, Colossus is a robot. For Cyclops, he has these lasers on his eyes that shoot out his optic beam. And for Nightcrawler, he's actually an elf. Like it's him having the most wildest imagination about the idea what the X-Men could possibly look like because the kid never saw the X-Men. But while you do have the two characters being able to communicate with one another, Wolverine remembers that there's a possibility that Wendigo might come back by following his scent. The problem is that for Logan, his scent is all over the place, especially when it comes to Tommy as well. And really for me, the ending of the storyline kind of felt just like nothing really spectacular, nothing really major. It's just Wolverine being able to, well, defeat Wendigo, but to also protect Tommy by trapping Wendigo inside the barn, which of course also catches on fire. And so Wolverine, he's just like, okay, cool, listen, the beast right now is caught in the flames, and there's no way he'll be able to escape the flames. And so for Wolverine, he just carries Tommy out of the burning building. And the book ends on that note right there. Now, of course, as you all know, Wendigo is a curse. So sooner or later, when somebody else goes out of their way to eat human flesh, that person will most likely get affected by the Wendigo curse, and bam, just like that, we'll get a brand new Wendigo. But with that being said, guys, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.